This is an example of one of the projects that we've done here in Austin. This is the Fluger Bridge. We've done the Ladybird Boardwalk Trail. I don't know how many of you know these different pedestrian facilities that we've built. So talking about careers and how do you get into a career, first I wanted to show you one of the fun parts of my career. This is a long time ago. This is an ancient machine. This is how we used to give all our presentations. So this bridge had to be torn down, and it's in Houston, Richmond, Texas, on the Brazos River. So we used dynamite, not the front bridge, but the bridge behind it. So I got the opportunity to be around demolition by dynamite. And we had to fish those pieces out of the river, of course, and then we recycled. We were kind of on the front edge of recycling. So then we were left with the concrete piers. We had pre-drilled holes in the tops of those piers and loaded them with dynamite. Of course, we had to clear the area. Safety is a huge element of demolition. Horns going off and people downstream and upstream making sure nobody wandered into the zone. But you can see that when we blew that concrete pier, it was mostly dust at the end. So we cleaned out the chunks. And then we have another way of taking a bridge down. Physically, we decided we can't blow things up. There's a train right behind us, so we hook cables up to it. And you know, you try to be innovative in any career that you choose. And I'm going to tell you in a minute how I got to the career choice that I made. But I wanted to show you that you don't always have to blow things up to tear them apart. We had a cable with a bulldozer. See that train back there was waiting. That's why we couldn't use dynamite. And boom, it hit the water. And then we cleaned it up and recycled it. So I'll show you more of some of the stuff that I've done, but I saw the previous speaker talking about passion and why. When I was younger, probably 10 or 11, we used to have a big, long gravel driveway, and we'd have Tonka trucks and things, and we'd be building roads. And my dad asked me, well, what do you want to be? And it was like, fireman, pro football player. When I finally outgrew jockey because I got too big, he said, well, what do you like to do? Kind of the same question, passion. I like to build things. Well, then you could possibly be a civil engineer. He named a couple other things. Equipment operator. Well, civil engineer stuck with me. Something sounded right about that. And I have wanted to be and became a civil engineer ever since then. Most people aren't so fortunate to that young in life. I heard somebody say, I don't know what I want to be yet. Very natural. Because often even what you know you want to be or what you like. So you pursue what you like. Well, you might like to sit and look at Instagram, but there's another consideration, does that pay? And how well will it pay? Because I want to live this kind of lifestyle, whatever that is. And you need to find a career that incorporates what you like, but pays enough to sustain that lifestyle. And I have 4 girls. I tell them independently, you need to sustain yourself independently. Fine if you get married, fine if you have mates, whatever. But, so also in high school, we had a presentation by a gentleman who was a civil engineer, and he showed slides. And I thought, wow, that is so cool. Not because there were slides, that was the technology of the time, but because what he showed was, yeah, that's what I really want to do. You know, I think of a civil engineer, structural engineer designing tall buildings downtown, the Google building or something as such. That's not what I do. I'm trained to do that. I'm a registered engineer. professional engineer, but often your education doesn't just throw you right into being able to do a skill. You know, we hire people out of college in our construction company, and they're hoping that all the classes that they have, they can walk in and just do what we do. And that's not how it works. There's a lot of on-the-job training that occurs. Everybody does things a little differently. And so for you to have this idea in your mind of what your career is going to be, and then suddenly, bam, you got the education. You might have switched during your education, whether that be at trade school, wherever that is, and decided you wanted something else. Then you go to work for a company and they go, well, we really want you to specialize in this, and you really don't have anything but the basics of that. So life feeds us a lot of different changes. You know, my business is exciting. We don't blow up bridges all the time, and there are some very mundane elements to having a construction company. There's a lot of headaches to having the work that I do, but I really enjoy getting out on these projects. Now I'm older, I don't do the work anymore, and for many years I haven't done the work other than to direct people. And that's what I told my girls. I said, well, regardless of what you want to be, make sure you're taking some business classes, because if you want to excel in what you're doing, as the previous speaker said, you might want to get promoted. And the more promotions you get, the more it's about business, more than the specifics of whatever you're doing. So I get to go out on the projects now and again, and that's where I feel I have my best rapport with the people that work with us. I've done my best to treat people right and keep the same people working for us. And so I enjoy going out there and sharing ideas and giving them some of my experience and expertise, and hearing their ideas, which often trump what I have to say anymore. So anyway, anybody have any questions so far? I'm kind of rambling on. Yes?
You constantly hear, like at least I have, how important math is in the engineering field. Like, what kind of math do you use, and is it really that important?
Well, that's a very good question, because my girls always ask, why do I have to take this? Why do I have to take that? And with computers nowadays, you go, geez, all I got to do is push a button. I use very basic math, you know, probably more geometry and calculating areas and volumes, but you can plug those parameters into a computer. So I'm not saying math isn't important, because having an overall understanding of the work that you do is great. You can't always apply it, and technology has really altered how engineers design buildings and everything else that goes on. So hopefully I'm not contradicting anything your teachers are telling you, because part of the whole process of learning and the value of it is that process of learning. Because you're going to have to learn in whatever career you choose. Learn about people, how to deal with people, learn about the technical elements of what you're doing. So I didn't really answer your question specifically how important math was. It's important to learn how to learn math. And then the math that is most important usually comes down a level, comes down a notch, because everything is a little more simplified in its use versus its understanding. Yeah.
So I know you started off your career as a civil engineer. When do you think your career more turned into the business aspect rather than engineering?
So in civil engineering, you can go into the engineering side. You can design sewer systems, water systems, structures, bridges. And I never went into the design. I went into construction. And so I ran crews. I was out in the field. I carried hammers and nails and built bridges along with the help of the people that worked with me. And then as I became more proficient at that, then I had to learn how to make sure we were making money doing that. It's not a bad word, making money. I mean, that's what businesses are in business for. We do good things in our business, but we also have to make money or we can't keep doing it. So probably 10 years into my career, I was at a point where half of what I was doing really was business, and the other half was still technical building and construction work. So I would say at 10 years I started switching. I wished I'd have taken more business classes, to be honest with you. I've learned some the hard way, but any other questions? I'll go real quickly through these slides since I brought them, and we took the time to set them up. So the Lamar pedestrian bridge, the Pfluger Bridge, which we built in 2000 and 2001. I mean, you look at these pictures, and I'll go through them very quickly, but that's downtown Austin. It doesn't even look like Austin. I mean, look how the sky has changed. Huh? That's 2000, 2001. So we transformed that area using barges. I've had people ask me, about how you build on water, and I know this isn't a technical presentation. Yes? Oh, you were you waiting? So, you have to drill holes out in the lake and put steel cans and fill them with concrete and steel and to make a bridge solid.
Are you designers here, or you're the builder?
We're the builder. Somebody has designed this, and now we've got to figure out how to build it. And you see those deals out in the water. I mean, those are filled with concrete to ultimately support the bridge. I mean, there's so many careers that are involved in what we do besides engineers. I mean, we have safety people, lawyers, accountants, people that. Huh? Yes, and there are divers that you're going to see here in a minute. There's we had to pour some of these things underwater. There's scuba divers out there. I mean, there's just a variety of interface of the different career choices you can make. I mean, we have a lot of IT stuff now because there are so many different formats that we can use in bidding and keeping track of our costs, etc. Anyway, I'm just sliding through this. If y'all have any questions, not necessarily about this job. Yeah, go ahead.
How do you avoid the erosion of those concrete supports when in all this water?
How do you do what?
Avoid erosion, like the erosion of
Of the concrete?
the concrete pillars out in the water.
So, concrete is, it's somewhat porous, and the water actually has been what cures it. Unless there's alkalines in the water, the concrete mixture itself is protected. And the steel inside, the water doesn't rot the steel. Inside that we had epoxy-coated steel, so the steel won't corrode. That's what would be the worst part. They don't worry about the concrete corroding. If y'all go downtown now, it's,
How many people are involved in
so on site we probably had 30 people, but then there's a lot of facilities that we're paying a lot of money to. I'm gonna go back one. I just love to look at Austin, how much it's changed in 20 years in some ways. So what do I not like to do about my job? The career I chose? I don't like sitting in the office all the time, I will say that. I don't like to have to let people go, fire people. I don't like doing very repetitive stuff. I get bored, unfortunately. Although there's a lot of things I have to do, and that's just any job. You just have to grind through it. And, my wife taught college, and grading papers was her least favorite thing, and she'd do 5, and then she'd give herself a treat, take a bite of candy bar, I don't know, go back, do 5 more. So anyway, I'm just rambling about some of the things I don't like about my
How
work.
often do you go over this?
How many what?
How often do you walk over this?
I don't very often anymore. No?
I ran this bridge every day for a long time.
Oh, did you?
I love this bridge, thank you.
Yeah, well, we did the Lady Bird Boardwalk too, which,
Oh, that's so
That-
much, it's so great.
I mean,
You
those
guys
are,
have never visited these bridges, you should go see them, you appreciate this a lot.
it's kind of our signature stuff in town, because so much of what we do is underground and way out in the boonies, you would never know what we did. So it turned into a real bridge. You're watching it happen. Slide speed. This is a circular deal. What's really cool from my perspective is we, now there's some commercials on TV that have been made on that bridge. And in this circular portion where the bikes go down, so that always feels kind of cool. Or there's pictures in the paper about something else, but it's taken from the Lady Bird Boardwalk of downtown. I have a lot of pride in that, and I didn't build it. My guys, my ladies, my crew worked together to put this thing in place. And that's the thing about most jobs. Not every career you're going to choose is one to have a team, but learning to work with a team is tough, especially if you think you have the best idea. Anyway, that's the completed. I've got time for, yeah.
Sorry, I just lost it.
Okay. Wait till you get my age. You lose things more frequently, yes. So there'll be things come up about, the concrete strengths didn't turn out right. Well, I had a lot of education in the parameters of why it would or wouldn't. And so, yeah, I draw on things then. As part of my daily job, there's nothing about knowing all those deals. But I never know when I'm going to pull from one of the classes I took just enough understanding to be able to stand up for what's going on or contribute to what's going on.
Thank you. Came back.
Okay.
Are you guys working on any projects outside Boston?
Yes, we work, we're working in Oklahoma, we work in Kansas, Colorado, New Mexico, Louisiana, Missouri. Yes.
Would you say most of your clients are like governments or private?
We do a lot of railroad work. So you saw we were knocking down that bridge for the railroad. Union Pacific runs through here. We do a lot of work for Union Pacific, Capital Metro. We've been doing a lot of work now for their platform stations, but we've done a lot of bridge repair for them over the years. So there are government entities that we work for. City of Austin. If you drive on 35 at Rainey Street, we are doing a substation there, electrical substation, right in the heart of all those buildings.
So did you start off working for a different construction company and then make your own? Or
That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't just start a business because I'd have failed. And honestly, in the 32 years I've had this business, we've come close to failing, and it's because of poor business decisions on my part. But no, I went to work for a company out of El Paso, Texas, that built high-rise buildings. Learned a lot from them, and then for 10 years I worked for a company that was intercontinental, worked all over the country, based out of Omaha, Nebraska, and they taught me a lot. about estimating and the business side of keeping track of money, you still never realize how much capital, how much cash it takes to run a business until you start your own, and then you realize the timing and, yes. So, when COVID first came out, nobody knew what to do. And yet every project, and all our owners, government or not government, especially the private enterprise, wanted their projects to continue on. So we had to work with our guys fully covered up, masked, but they still had to have all their safety gear on. In the middle of summer, by the time it reached summer, spread out, can't take breaks, but the deadline never changed. So we were, in that category of companies that had to, in fact, when we first started working and going to work, we'd get stopped sometimes. Where are you guys going? You're supposed to be quarantined. No, we're on the front line of construction. Nobody ever got ticketed or anything, but it was very inconvenient. It really slowed down our productions. However, downtown Austin, working next to the convention center and the Hilton Hotel, right in the heart of it, suddenly there wasn't any people, because prior to that there was constant foot traffic and scooter traffic. You guys might like scooters, but they sure get in our way when we're working downtown. So there was benefits of less foot traffic, etc., but there was a lot of inconveniences, and I know now it's still a tough go, but we're hoping for different times. It did have impact.
Can you talk a tiny bit about the bid process? Because you've got some pretty major contracts in Austin. This one and the Edward Johnson one. How many people bid for those, and how did you make sure you won them?
So bidding is an art, but you have to have the cost of every piece. I went through very quickly, but if you saw, there's a lot of activities, a lot of subcontractors, a lot of materials, a lot of people I'm paying wages to, a lot of equipment, a lot of barges I'm renting. You have to, this is part of that question of what you learn in school, the process of breaking down these to all the elements that you can price, that you can decide the risk on, takes time. And yes, so we had to, they're competitively bid. You can't just put whatever number you want and, oh, I feel uncomfortable, I'm going to add another 10%. Oh no, because you're competing against as many as 8 to 10 people. So now you got to try to be as cheap as you can and yet as thorough as you can, because once that price is in, you're stuck. So whatever you put on the paper for this deal, the final number, if it was 10 million, that's all you're going to get. And if it costs the company 12 million to finish that job, too bad. You better talk to your banker. That's how you get close to going out of business, is from poor estimation, and that's a real skill. Yeah.
What were the first steps you took to start your own business?
You have to have some source of money, of capital. I had been a stockholder for the company I had worked for prior to that, so I had just enough money where I thought I was in good shape, and you have to get the insurance set up. And then, then it started buying software that I could do payroll, because it was mostly just me at first, and then it was me and my wife, and then it was two of my daughters worked for me, have been for many years. So it takes time, and you work and you get paid 30 or 40 days later. Well, suddenly you're spending more than you had in the bank. You're going to have the money, but you don't have the money yet. It's 40 days down. And the bank said, okay, we've loaned you about all we can. It's tough. You shouldn't just go out and start a business. You should learn, like I did from several other companies, at least get an idea what it's like, and then go from there. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Albee.
Yes.